Welcome to Squirrel Trails. Today's video, we're talking about ethical hacking and what not to do and what you should do.
Short story of some kids that were learning this the hard way in a small company and how they all got a lot of bad press out of this.
Welcome to Squirrel Trails. I'm David.
And I'm Al. And just to get all the legal stuff out of the way quickly, what we're going to say tonight is our own opinion and not tied to those of our employers, past, present, or in some cases maybe even future.
So Al, what's today's article about?
The article we've got today is out of Ars Technica, and I've completely mispronounced that, but we'll go forward with it, by Sean Gallagher.
Okay.
It's called Casino Screw-Up Royale, A Tale of Ethical Hacking Gone Awry. Really, it starts with some guys getting into almost kind of a fight at a tech show, and the backstory is actually more interesting than the fight, obviously.
IT guys in a fight? Wow.
Yeah, who knew? Lots of strong opinions out there. But this is one of those things that can happen if you don't do what you're supposed to do in the world of ethical hacking and you're kind of learning on the fly. And while actually getting any press for a company is probably a good thing, when you're getting negative press and you're selling your company for $40 million, might be a problem.
So let's talk about the characters in this situation.
Okay, we've got really a fairly small set. We start with the security testers, a couple of young folks, 24, 17 of age. This is not really their first foray into ethical hacking, but this is, they're getting started, trying to get a name for themselves, and so they're getting out and testing. Then we've got the small company that has been breached by the security testers. And, backstory on that, a small company, but actually at a point in which they're beginning to make some pretty good money and going to be able to sell themselves for $40 million is on the table.
Yep.
So this kind of stuff's a big frickin' deal.
Big deal.
Then there's a casino that's involved that actually was the folks that kind of brought insanity to this process.
Yeah, they cooled everything down.
Yeah, they actually did. The casino was a good call, but and they were a user of the company's software. So for them, they wanted to get this straight.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a security contractor, security writer in the middle that kind of facilitated some of the communications to get started. And then the last player in this mix was the FBI, who, entertainingly enough, didn't arrest anybody. All they wanted to do was
Get it fixed.
yeah, they just wanted to get the thing fixed. So they reached out and did the final facilitation to get this thing taken care of. So it was nice to see that done. So they were really the good guys in this process.
For once.
Ouch.
So, let's start from the beginning then.
Okay, so first part of this one is the two security testers are trying to get a name, they want to get started, and so they just start scanning the internet for open servers.
Well, a little bit of background on them first.
Okay.
I mean, just to kind of go step by step for this, because this is the big article.
Right.
This is the big article. The link is below. It's a good read. Surprisingly enough, I read all of it.
Lord have mercy, would he have done that when he was younger?
You would only wish. So their background looks like they've been doing this for a couple years as a pair. One's, like you said, one's 17, one's
Right.
23, and they've done a few other breaches, and really looks like they couldn't really get a hold of anybody on those other ones that they've tried.
Yeah, that's actually a very common problem when folks are getting started. You find a breach, how do you tell the company about the breach? You send them an email, send them a letter. The company doesn't know who the heck you are.
Nope.
So
Especially a young, I mean, I don't think the 17-year-old at least had any college background. 23 maybe.
maybe it's not really
Doesn't really-
relevant,
doesn't really relevant.
because based on the writing from the letters that you could see that they probably didn't have a whole lot of hardcore, I'm going to say, formal education at that post-high school level. On the other hand, I've got a lot of that education, and I don't write much better.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll talk about it later, but there were some misspellings that didn't take too kindly early on, didn't really help any situation.
Yeah, when you're trying to establish credibility, it's really nice if you spell the words right.
So spell check's always great. I love it.
My boss keeps telling me that, and I never learn.
And you probably won't. Ever.
All too true.
So yeah, so they've been at this for a while. Really had no success. This appears, from what the article has given us, they're kind of the biggest kind of breach in a way, worth of something that they can tie their name to.
Yeah, this is something where they can, I mean, they're trying to get traction as security testers. I mean, one of the hard things to do is, because there's lots of people that do this kind of testing on the side, if you're going to do this as a profession and you're not working for a company already, you're trying to make your own name for yourself, you've got to try to get some kind of press out of the deal. And that's really what these folks are trying to do. They actually got into the company in this case.
Yeah.
And got quite a ways in.
Quite a ways in.
Yeah, they got into the server and wandered around the server to figure out what was on it and to determine not just who owned the server, but what was on the server, so they could actually go to the company and say, these are the risks that you've got involved. And that actually isn't necessarily a bad idea. The question could be raised, you know, and we talked about this a couple, 3 weeks ago. What are you supposed to have before you do security testing, David?
We are supposed to get authorization, something in writing.
Right. So obviously, if you're just scanning the internet to find something, you're probably not going to have authorization to that.
Probably not.
So once you find it and you find the initial vulnerability, you are at risk at that point in time if you go any further, because you are technically hacking into somebody's system.
So, I mean, at that point in time, they aren't really ethical hackers like they want to be known as.
Right. They're...
Because that's what they want to be known as. They want to be known as ethical hackers.
Right. It's a good point. They want to be known as ethical hackers. The problem is that in that type of a process, they probably should have stopped and contacted the company at that point in time.
Yep.
But they didn't know how big their breach was. They didn't know. They were just trying to learn and get into the process to see what it is.
And there wasn't any bounty out either.
No. I mean, the company did not ask to be hacked.
Nope.
They just had a server out there that was not as well secured as it could have been, according to the article. And read the article. The company involved story kind of dances a little bit about demo server, whether or not it was open, or they brute force hacked it. The reality is they got in. I mean, that's all that matters at this point in time. But it is one of those things they have to think about is once you perform the initial breach, what should I do then? That should not be something you decide once you're in.
No.
Kind of want to have a plan of action before you get going.
You can't break into the building and then go, now what? Look around and just kind of wander?
Well, okay, so, you know, I've done some physical security testing where you kind of and David will tell you this, I have a tendency to open doorknobs to see what happens as I walk by, and occasionally the door opens. I have learned don't walk in, because that's not a good thing. But these guys were still learning the process. So they're not really, let's go back to the black hat hackers. At this point in time, there really aren't black hat. They're not trying to abuse anything at this point in time. Could they potentially have brought something down by accident? Absolutely.
Yeah, big time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's risk.
Because, I mean, they went into a big, software. I mean, it was tied to a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, the system was there. They didn't know what was in it. The company says it was a demo system. For all we know, it could have been a production box. Clearly, there was software on there. If there was stuff running and they had caused the box to go down, it could have shut down operations. So the software for the company involved, let's just set that a little bit because we didn't really address that earlier.
Sure.
It's software that manages a loyalty card system for casinos. That's kind of a big deal to think about, is that means that the system is being used on casino systems that are potentially tied to money transfers and transactions.
Customer data.
Customer data for sure.
It tracks location, geolocation, the money they're earning, points that they've accumulated, and also Bluetooth as well.
Yeah, there was
and phone, to their
Yeah.
phone as well.
Yeah, all that stuff gets tracked, and oh, by the way, that's kind of normal for loyalty software. So if you're using a loyalty card someplace, all that stuff's available. So
Yep.
if you swipe at a gas station or something, all that's being tracked. So just be aware of that. So now the key to this is they had access to the source code, because the source code is on the system. So even if they hadn't gotten to the data, they could have potentially made changes to the source code that would have been migrated into production. So there were some pretty big exposures if they had chosen to do it. In fact, in the article, in the article here, the kids were actually using the term, it was as good as printing money.
Yeah.
And so that was the risk that they had with this. So big deal. They found it. They got in. They probably went a little too far in what they were looking for to see what was on there. Could they identify it and determine who they needed to go tell about the issue? So at the end of the day, you have to find out who you're going to tell if you're going to do this testing, because you're doing this completely on your own.
Yeah. Okay, so let's break down the story.
All right, so they got into the system, they found it, and now they figured out that they need to go tell somebody about this. So they email the company and let them know this is what they found.
And not just one person. They emailed a handful of people.
Right, they tried to get anybody's attention they could at that company, because they didn't know who to talk to.
No, yeah. They
So
just basically said,
sent out.
here's an email, here's what we did,
Right.
here's what we found. Forward this to someone that should know about it.
Yeah, there's all sorts of folks that get notified. And that's one of those things in breach notification. Once the company's been notified by somebody that should care, that notification is now on record. The clock ticks if it's a breach.
Well, that's right.
So it's important to understand and track this kind of stuff that's getting in there, because you're actually on record at this point in time that you've been notified a bad thing happened.
So really quick sidetrack, just
Okay.
the squirrel trail, something I was.
That's all we do.
Yeah. So when you get breached, we talked about the timeline.
Right.
Before you can actually notify the public, or before you talk to whoever got their data out there, right? There's a timeline.
Well, there is. Well, kind of. The reality is you should be telling people as quickly as possible what they're at. There's a normal process for this. You tell who you've attacked so that they can take action. If you found a vulnerability in a piece of software, you contact that software. If you found an open server, you do what these guys did.
But the company has a timeline. The company has a timeline to notify.
Yes, there's
You
a
right?
clock that ticks as to when they have to notify their customers.
Yep.
If, and here's the key point, if personal data has been breached.
Okay.
So if personal data hasn't been breached, then there's not an issue. Now let me back up.
It's a fuzzy line.
Right.
Well,
But-
talk about a great line.
Yeah.
What's
Squirrel
personal
trail.
data? What's personal data?
That's actually pretty well defined. Welcome to the world of privacy in the last 20 years. We have spent 20 years defining that. So, anyway, on the other hand, the company may have an obligation based on a contract to let people know when they've been breached. So that could be part of, since this company works for casinos, it could be part of the contract with casinos to say, hey, if you get breached, you have X number of days to let us know. It's probably not defined as number of days. It's typically defined as soon as possible.
Okay.
Words to that effect, because,
Is there any liability that the government can come in and say, hey, this didn't happen, so we're going to fine you?
yes. The rules on that one, that depending upon who the company is regulated by, so in this situation, probably the Federal Trade Commission in the U.S. would fall into that, because if the company isn't notifying the folks they should notify on a timely enough basis, then you're breaking rules that say you need to be protecting people's data, and it actually becomes, interestingly enough, it's about a competition factor, that you are not providing fair competition to your competitors because you're choosing not to play the game by the right rules.
Okay. So what happens if you just don't get notified they've been breached? And just, we just didn't know. And just keep going,
Well, I mean,
kind of blind, just kind of walking blind and just going, we don't want to care. We don't care if we get breached because we don't want to have to announce that we've been breached.
Okay.
Is that an issue?
Yeah. So, yes, that's an issue. Again, once you've been notified, you need to be taking this stuff seriously as a company. I don't care what size company you are. You need to take a company seriously because you're now at risk if something bad happens. Now, if nothing bad happens, we don't care.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's kind of like getting, companies get all sorts of crappy emails all the time.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to, that's a great kind of, we're going to do a video on breaches down the road. We're hoping to do a hour-long talk on a weekend about breaches and that kind of stuff. So that's a video hopefully should be coming soon here in the next month or so once we kind of get our timeline set up for everything.
Yeah, because David asked me the wrong question. We could be here 2 hours.
Yeah. So back to the article. Sorry about the sidetrack. Just
for once, it wasn't me.
So they have emailed everybody.
So they emailed everybody. Didn't get any kind of response, which is not that uncommon. We won't drill into that because we're so far along, but it is kind of normal that people don't respond to these things because they don't know who the heck you are. Well, then they chose to go to Twitter to try to get the company's attention.
Because no one responded.
Right, because nobody responded. So they went to Twitter and started talking about trying to get the company's attention that they had found something. They didn't give any details. They were being really good about, and as kind of professional as they could be about not making this any worse than it is.
A 23-year-old being professional.
Yes.
And a 17-year-old being professional.
Professional is an attitude. It's not about age. So, before I get beat by all sorts of folks I know.
I'm just...
So, but anyway, they did take as professional approach as they could with this to try to get that out there. I mean, there are some people that might have just taken and started announcing this to the world. But again, they're trying to get a name for themselves as security testers.
Yep.
So for them, this isn't about breaking the system and saying I broke the system just to get their own cred amongst hackers. They're trying to get into an industry. So from their perspective, all they're really wanting to do is get enough data that they can make a presentation at a conference and get their name out there.
Sure.
So which is good.
Yes.
So at any rate, they end up going to Twitter. That Twitter gets picked up by an actual guy in the security field that knows what he's doing, security consultant and security writer, who then retweets it to try to get other people's attention. Well, people started paying attention to his tweets because he's known.
Sometimes being known helps.
Yes, that's part of the process here. You become a trusted source.
Yep.
We would like to think squirrel trails will eventually get there. We'll see.
We'll see.
So anyway, a casino picks up, that's a customer of this company, picks up that retweet and reaches out because casinos, they're really concerned about security.
Yeah. Yep.
They have lots of money. They have lots of stuff that's secret in their world.
Lots of data.
They have lots of data. So for them, they take this stuff very, very seriously. And the FBI also reached out.
Well, I think the casino brought the FBI.
Okay, I think that's, all right. Read the article. Find out for yourself. We won't argue about it here. But the reality is, those two groups got together. The casino sent a very nice letter to the kids. I say kids, 24 and 17, but to me, they're all kids.
Because you're old.
Yeah, because I'm old. As my granddaughter says, I have the white hair.
Yep.
So the hold on that thought for a second.
Lost everything.
Lost everything, right?
So the casino reached out, emailed them, said, "Hey, fellas, thanks for bringing this up. Here is what's your T-shirt size, your hat size.
Yeah.
We'd love to give you some swag."
Yeah. So, and they really complimented them on the fact that they got the information out there. The casino did a very nice job with this. Should really be commended for their positive approach to this.
For sure.
And oh, by the way, the small company involved that wrote the software that had the service when breached, still not getting any response.
Nothing.
So the FBI, which has also been engaged at this point in time, because they reach out. Who knew? The FBI monitors Twitter.
No way.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So they saw the security guys thing and decided, hey, we should probably also get involved. And literally reached out to the security researchers and said, maybe we can help facilitate that conversation, which they then did.
Yep.
So then we got everybody together in a room, start talking about what the issue is. The company was initially very open to this. This is cool. Thank you for finding this. This is great. And again, security researchers are hoping for maybe a little company swag that they can show at the security conference that they're going to be at. Again, they're just simply trying to get their name in.
Yep.
Well, the company then says, so we'd like to own this information. So we don't want to just give you some swag and say, thank you, we'll fix the hole. We want to have a non-disclosure agreement with you and actually have you not tell anybody.
Yeah, just keep it to yourself.
Right.
Don't announce it. Here's a non-disclosure sign here. You can't say anything about it, and we'll try to figure something out.
Right. And that's not that uncommon. Most companies do not want the fact that they had an open hole in their environment.
Initially.
Yeah, to be known.
Yep.
So they're going to want to not have that disclosed. Now, the NDA may have been written in such a way they could still make a presentation on what they found. They just couldn't name the company involved.
Yep.
All depends. But at any rate, they wanted an NDA, the company wanted an NDA, and was willing to pay for it. So they asked for
Some money.
Yeah.
Money.
so these folks don't know how much to ask for, so they asked for $60,000.
Which is a billable, they're billable hours.
Right.
They said there was 120 hours.
140 hours.
140 hours. So 140, so 60,000 divided by 140 is $27.
No.
Nope, what was it? Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, hold on. Yep. So, you gotta write better. We wrote it down. So, yeah, so the real number is, so 60,000 divided by 140 hours comes down to $428.57. That seems a little high.
Well, you mean billable rate for security guys can actually be really large. So I'm not going to throw rocks at it. But let's be honest. It's an initial bargaining point at this point in time. That's
Sure.
throwing a number out there. That's, the other company can come back and
See what
say,
sticks.
yeah, well, okay, you don't agree to get $60,000 or $6.
Sure.
So it should be a negotiation. But yeah, this is when things the wheels fell off of this process.
Once money started talking, everything went south.
Yeah, because then it got to be kind of a big deal. And let's not forget, this company is trying to sell their product, marketing rights, development rights for the company for that particular product. They're going to get $40 million, $20 million cash
Well, they're
up front.
asking. They're asking, not they're getting. They're going to asking.
Right, but looks like they're going to get it. And of that, $20 million is cash up front.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of money involved here for a relatively small company. So they're going,
Relatively
we don't want
small.
to. Yeah.
You read the article, you'll see how small they are.
Yeah. So, yeah, good point. Okay, it's bigger than my house. So anyway,
No, their office is shared by like 8 different other companies, including a tax company, just a brand tax company. So
and
it's
a
just
donut shop.
And a donut shop. So
Yeah, okay.
small company.
Yeah, small company, you're right. So this is a big deal to them. So this can potentially upset that sale.
Yep.
So they're wanting to keep this thing very, very quiet. So, but it sounds like they don't want to spend the $60,000. So we enter what I call email hell.
True.
They start sending emails out, responses get around, people aren't really sounding very good about this. It's really weird as you read the article.
And the young guy's background gets pulled out into this, which was
Right.
so find out what they said, because we're not going to talk about it. But he did say that people in the industry already have this kind of background, so it's normal.
Right.
Normal stuff.
Yeah, so that kind of came up later, but what ended up happening is just, let's be clear, a lot of people in the security field, not the vast majority, but some of the folks in testing do start at a young age and get busted doing something stupid. So that does happen.
It's practice. Practice makes perfect.
You're right, but it's not a good thing. So please, let's remind everybody what we said a couple weeks ago. Don't do this at home.
Nope. And get permission ahead of time.
Right, so let's be really clear on that. So, by the way, this is kind of what happens when you don't do that well, because everything goes sideways here.
Yeah.
Because there is no paper trail now to justify why they're gonna get the $60,000. So they end up trying to exchange email, nothing happens. What normally tries to happen at this point in time, well, actually it's what not normal. What we'd like to see is everybody take the high road, because that's what works well for the press.
Yep.
Everybody do what's right. Because doing what's right is really the right answer in this thing. The company involved should be very upfront. If they don't want to pay $60,000, they negotiate to something else. Because, again, they probably take the swag.
Yeah. I mean, initially, that's all I wanted.
Right.
So money was just a bonus. So they could have said, here's $10 and free swag.
Yeah. So, they were asked, how much do you want for this? I'd probably ask for a bundle of money too, figuring I'm going to negotiate now.
Yeah.
Because if I start negotiation at $6, I'm going to end up with one.
Especially at a young age.
Right.
Money, I mean, just when you hear, oh, negotiate, say, what do you want? Oh, money. Sure.
I don't think that has anything to do with age, Dave.
Well,
that's what we all do.
Well, true.
just saying.
Younger, if you're younger, you add a couple of zeros at the end.
Okay.
I would.
Yeah, okay. We'll ask it again in 20 years. I bet there's more zeros. But anyway, as we wander down that trail, David will find out reality as he gets older.
Never.
So anyway, everybody should be taking the high road. Companies should be doing this, and the hackers should also be trying to do this in a positive way as well, because again, they're trying to get a positive reputation out of this. What they chose to do wasn't the right answer.
So as these emails are kind of just going to hell in a handbasket, there's a show that pops up.
Yep, there's an IT conference, IT vendor show, where the company is going to be demoing their software, and one of the folks involved with this is also going to be attending the conference.
Yeah.
So he says, hey, I'll meet you there and we'll talk about it. Let's see if we can't get this thing resolved one way or the other.
Get it squared away in person.
Right.
Because again, it sounds like this company the distance was an issue. Because the young guys, if we didn't bring it up earlier, are out in New England. Not New England, but London. Sorry about that. Just had to double check. So they were out in London. The young guys were out in London.
Companies in Michigan.
Companies in Michigan. So it's not like they were just in person through the email hell. There was just kind of distance then.
Yeah, there's a distance involved, time zones involved, but it's email. It works pretty darn fast. Anyway, clearly was not a lot of goodwill on everybody intent on this. So they both meet at the conference. The security investigator meets the guy at the conference at where he's demoing his software at his vendor table. And there the story kind of goes sideways as to who got involved in the brawl first.
Who did what? I mean, both say different things, which is normal.
Yeah, and that's just what it is. So we're not going to get into that because we have no clue. But the reality is, this isn't the way that should have been resolved. So then they end up with a cease and desist order saying essentially go away, don't talk about this anymore, bad things. That's
don't come back.
The company tells the security folks that. And oh, by the way, if you do this, we're going to press charges because you hacked our systems. And, in all honesty,
they did. They really did.
Yeah, they hacked the system. So, again, that's the risk you run if you're going to do this. That's why you want to make sure you do these things ethically, correctly, and there.
And document everything.
And document everything so you've got a paper trail if something comes up. And, by the way, don't go exploring on the box once you happen to break it.
Yep.
That would be considered a bad thing.
Open the door, and then you go, hey, the door's open.
Yeah, and go tell somebody. Now, part of the problem, the article really brings out the fact that as an industry, we're not very good at this because we're still learning.
Yeah. It's still fairly new. I mean, It changes so often, it's always new.
Right. Yes, people have been breaking into systems since, the 80s and 90s, but functionally, the idea of telling somebody about it and having them take action, it's kind of new in the last 10 or 15 years. So we're still reaching it, and most companies have no method, defined method of how to deal with that. So if you're running a small company and somebody reaches out to you, you probably want to think about an incident program. How should I respond to these things? What's the right answer? Because as we've learned in this one, making it up as you go is probably the wrong thing.
Probably. It is the wrong thing.
And if you're the security investigator that's learning how to go, you should think about what you're going to do, because you're wanting to be a professional in this. So you want to educate yourself as to what's the right way to reach out to companies, get their attention, and be able to keep their attention in a positive way.
And like we talked about a few weeks ago, the industry, if this kid, he might just about my age, would have reached out to someone like you or someone out in the industry, they would have had that kind of what to do. But
Right.
it sounds like he just kind of was just winging it.
Right. And
So
there's
he
not
should have reached out to someone, and that's what people should talk about. There are people out to talk to. Go talk to people. Don't just go do it and wing it yourself like this kid, because then this happens. Go talk to professionals and say, hey, help me out.
So I'm going to loop back so we can kind of start to end this story, but because this really goes to some good things happened in this. The security folks found an actual vulnerability.
Yep.
And they tried to tell somebody about it. They didn't try to exploit it.
And they tried it the right way.
Right.
They did it at the initial, well, most of this, they did the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did they do some things they probably shouldn't have done? Yes. But they really took a real
High road.
yeah, they took the high road on this to get through this. Now, and the company, you know, most small companies, you get something in the mail that says you've been hacked, you don't know what to do, and so,
My theory is they were just scared.
yeah, you know, that's.
At a small company,
Yeah.
and they were selling for a large amount of money, they were probably just scared.
Yeah, that's a good thought. They just wanted to make it go away.
Yep.
David, you're becoming as much as a cynic as I am. So, anyway, and I didn't actually go down there.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yes. Now, in this case, what I would say is the two real winners on this that did exactly what should be done here is the casino involved. They took a very professional approach, reached out to the security investigators in a very positive way, got
Yep.
the information, reached out, engaged the vendor as well, and the FBI's involvement, they didn't.
The FBI did something good?
Yes, the FBI. Okay.
Sorry.
I have friends of mine in the FBI.
Hey, no, nothing bad against them. It just, in the news, we don't hear a lot of good things. So this is something that, yes, they did do a good thing.
And to be absolutely clear, when it comes to cybercrime, the FBI is a very, very strong asset to companies.
They are.
They're not there trying to break down doors, do something like this. They're wanting to be, how can we help companies get more secure? Because their only interest with this is to say, hey, somebody found a breach. Are you taking care of it?
That's what they want you to think.
Yeah, this is true. David, next time you go to Isaka, I have to introduce you to somebody who will beat the tar out of you.
Oh, joy.
So, Eric.
Ding, ding, ding.
So, actually, and again, the FBI is very good at this.
They are.
They're very positive. The young cynic sitting next to me here doesn't have the same energy with them that he probably should have, but
Trust but verify.
the FBI cyber groups are there for any company's support. This is what they do. That's actually a big part of it. They'll make presentations to local security groups in town. That's where I've met folks.
And they actually, if a security tester actually can reach out to the FBI.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can let them know what you found, and they will help you with some of that process. I don't know the details of that because I've not actually done that. There's probably some things you want to do to make sure you don't get yourselves in trouble. But again, if you're trying to do the right thing, the FBI and others in the security field recognize that.
True.
And they'll help you do the right thing to do what you need to do.
Very true.
Because in all honesty, these folks found a vulnerability. and they did the right thing, and we want them to do the right thing going forward. And the way you do that is to reward them. And this is how young people, in this case 24 and 17, get introduced to the industry. And we need better people, more people that do this kind of work in a strong, ethical fashion.
Definitely.
So doing this thing the right way can get everybody, as long as everybody's playing well together, can be great. If they don't play well together, you can have what happened here and get into an altercation at a vendor trade show and not necessarily get all the press that you want to get. But it's a fun read for an article. I would encourage you to do that. I loved it. Lots of detail in that. Didn't obviously give you any details on the hacking that was done and what, how they got in. But to be honest, using Shodan and some of these other internet scanning tools is a great way to get started with what's out there, because every day people are standing up servers, and especially in the cloud, that aren't protected because they don't know how to protect it.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a good learning process for those of you that run businesses of whatever size, small or large, to say, how am I going to respond to this? And actually make the security testers your friends, because then you can use them to fix your other security holes.
Definitely.
And treat them as an enemy.
And so with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We do have some new audio equipment we're trying out, so hopefully it works out. We've used it for a couple of times now, and we're trying to improve the podcast. So hope you enjoy this little longer podcast. If you do like it, leave a comment below. If you don't like it, leave a comment below. Let us know either way. Reach out to us through an email. Our email is down below as well. And so follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and yeah. With that, I'm David.
And I'm Al. Happy trails.